Hey, it's been a while. A decade, in fact. A decade since I last uploaded actual music from a physical pinball machine to this channel. Christ. So, right off the bat, I want to give a little short version of what I'm going to say. So, too long, didn't watch. No, I haven't actually completely given up on uploading pinball music to this channel yet. The reasons I haven't done so in a literal fucking decade are lack of time, tools that suck, and old recordings that suck. I'm mostly considering starting over by redoing soundtrack recordings and replacing the original videos with new ones over time. However, I need to completely reevaluate my process and find out just what has changed. In the meantime, I have started doing Let's Plays, and you can see many of them on the LP archive, including the one I have publicly posted on this channel. Future video Let's Plays will be posted publicly here as well. I still have some unlisted subtitles LPs that I will be making public at some point. Finally, I really hope I can actually get my shit together for this for once. Now, to go over these points in more detail. 1. No, I haven't completely given up. Yes, I know this sounds fucking stupid after a little over a decade, but I have in fact made several attempts at rejuvenating this whole project. They've just never made it out of the stage of just sitting on my hard drive in an eternal work in progress state. Still, this has been fucking with me for ages, and I've always felt like I was betraying some of the subscribers I have by just stopping. For all intents and purposes, I've been stuck in a sort of analysis paralysis for all this time with no real plan to break out of it. What isn't helping is the whole situation this thing is in, specifically 2. The reasons I haven't done so in a literal decade are 2A. Lack of time. In the time since I've last uploaded a proper set of tracks, I've gone to university, flunked out of university, and got a job. All of which has left me with drastically less time than I used to have when I started this, and this shit takes time. In particular because I've amassed a bunch of technical debt that I need to work through, but just in general, keeping all this set up and up to date takes a lot of time. And having waited on all this time hasn't helped either. In general, I'd need to go back, actually check the comments on all my videos, dig through them, figure out what problems exist, and somehow fix them, which will probably involve having to get that MediaFire account that I don't even know if I still have fucking access anymore because, it's been like a decade since I last touched it. But to get back on that technical depth, 2B, tools that suck. Back then, the tools I used fucking sucked. I had 2 choices. 1, booting up the ROM in PinMain32 and using the manual sound player to dig through all the addresses to try and find the right tracks. Then manually recording everything while timing the recording, or just making it long and trimming it, which costs even more time, then manually editing it to have a finished track. And this fucking sucks. Going through addresses manually, one by one, flying completely blind as to where the music even starts or where it ends, is in fact hell even without all the other problems. Sure, there were some games where somebody had actually written down the addresses and integrated them into some sort of rudimentary track select. I'm sure there were like half a dozen out of those hundreds of ROMs that actually had that. Most of them didn't. Option 2. Use M1 and its front end, Bridge M1, to somewhat automate the process. But with M1 came some other caveats. 1. It didn't support everything. In fact, the list was quite limited as it was more for an arcade sound emulation. 2nd, it had some sort of problem where if you just let it sit and do its thing, going from track to track, sometimes it'll just fail to load a track and then record complete silence for that one. That then necessitated manual correction, so even with M1's automation, I wasn't getting past manual review of all the addresses. And 3rd, evidently the sound emulation isn't accurate, which means I might as well just forget about it. So that's not fun. And even looking back at all the recordings I already have, 2C. Old recordings suck. No beating around the bush, my quality standards were a lot fucking lower back then. Those were the days when I had an MP3 player that held a whole 256 megabytes. Size was at a premium back then. God, I feel old. Anyway, a lot of this music I recorded back then was at like 96 kilobits a second. Well, a decade later, and this just sounds horrendous to me, and we can have better. Drive space is cheap these days. I'm not struggling with garbage internet speeds either, so I can actually make decent quality files these days. The recordings also suck because they're so fucking inconsistent. I use Pinball sometimes, M1 other times, and it's all just a complete mess that desperately needs standardization. 2D. Side tangent. Copyright. So, random side note, those of you that are very, very attentive will notice that there are a few tracks that are in my MediaFire folder but not in my uploads. Some of these are single tracks I like but didn't bother uploading a video for, like I think I got something from Hook and from Guns N' Roses that I didn't have videos for, but specifically I'd like to point out Simpsons Pinball Party. I did upload those tracks to the channel, but I straight up got copyright strikes for them. This was back in the day when you just got shit taken down and got a strike for it. Not even sure what I'm going to make of those tracks in the future. Speaking of the future. 3. The future of my channel. Starting over. I feel like there's no way around it. I could spend a whole bunch of time fixing the issues I see with the situation as is, but in the end I might as well just start over and do shit right. Consistent recording, decent quality audio, proper videos, the works. However, I'll also need to plan this shit out somehow, specifically since I have not really kept up with the advancements. I do know that M1 has been essentially dead, so that's a dead end, but I'm also aware that some things have changed in Pinball to improve sound recording. There's also some sort of alt sound thing that I heard about, but I haven't looked into, so much to plan. But basically, plan is to have first figured out a solid workflow, then go from there. One question that's completely open is what kind of videos to make, as it just seems like the thing on YouTube is now to have one big video with all the tracks in it, versus individual tracks in separate videos. Again, it's something I'll have to figure out, and I mean, if you want to drop some feedback in the comments, that would be nice. I guess I'll also have to see just what's happening in the virtual pinball scene these days. I have not kept up with this at all. Generally, my intent will be for new recordings to replace old recordings. So let's say I've figured out my workflow, I've gone through everything, and I've recorded a full set of, say, the Addams Family. Once I finish either the video or the separate videos, depending on which path I take, and upload them, I will private the old ones and basically just go through this one by one and replacing the old shitty recordings with nicer, better ones with nicer, better videos. Ideally, this should eventually lead to a completely clean new collection. But I'll have to see. 4. In the meantime, back in 2013, I signed up for the Something Awful forums because of its Let's Play subforum, and ever since then I have also been creating Let's Plays there. Started out with screenshot Let's Plays, which did not really touch upon the channel beyond videos that I uploaded unlisted that can't stand on their own. However, recently I have moved from screenshot LPs to also doing video LPs, which can stand on their own without a threat. This has culminated in the Stories Untold LP, which I have made public here, and I intend for future video LPs to also be public here. Other stuff will probably stay hidden, eventually landing on the LP archive. But speaking of older stuff, 5. Old stuff going public. I have 2 subtitled older LPs that can also stand on their own, and I intend to at some point start making these public. They're already on the archive, so this should just be opening up to the larger YouTube world. Specifically, there is a short LP of There Is No Game, and a long LP of AI The Somnium Files. At some point I will go through and schedule these to appear publicly over weeks and months, though I'm not sure when I will actually start doing this. Ideally after I've actually, restarted the Pinball Music project. 6. Conclusion. So yeah, that's the situation. I hope that now that I've actually gone ahead and made this video, which is also something I've been procrastinating on for quite some time, I can actually get myself to make a proper attack plan and revive this channel. And to the 2 of you that have actually watched this to the end, thanks for listening to me prattle on. I hope to actually have something proper put out eventually, but when that will be, I don't know. I suppose time will tell. See you then.